accept from the Giants for Giancarlo Stanton. The San Francisco Giants have surpassed 3 million in attendance each of the last 8 seasons. They desperately need to keep the streak alive. That desire provides much of the fuel for the Giants' pursuit of NL MVP Giancarlo Stanton of the Miami Marlins, which seems to be a step closer to fruition. MLB.com columnist Jon Paul Morosi reported Thursday the Marlins would be willing to trade Stanton for second baseman Joe Panik and Class AAA prospects Chris Shaw and Tyler Beede, provided San Francisco absorbs around $250 million of the $295 million left on Stanton's contract. The huge financial commitment is the main reason why, despite widespread interest, only the Giants and St. Louis Cardinals have surfaced as serious contenders so far for Stanton, who led the majors with 59 home runs last season and just turned 28. Stanton has veto power over any trade and is said to prefer being dealt to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are coming off a World Series appearance, have won the NL West crown 5 years in a row and happen to be his hometown team. It's not clear how strong a push the Dodgers are making to acquire him. A swap involving Yeo Puig would seem to make sense, but they're expected to shed payroll this offseason. San Francisco, some 350 miles up the coast, may be Stanton's best alternative. In the Giants' eyes, he's clearly their top option for reviving an offense that produced the second fewest runs and the fewest home runs in the majors, a prime reason why the club tied for baseball's worst record at 64-98. The Giants' prized sellout streak finally ended at 530 games this year, but they sold more than 3.3 million tickets for the 7th season in a row. However, more than 2.5 million of those were season tickets. There were vast sections of empty seats at every game, and demand figures to soften considerably this winter if the club doesn't make significant upgrades. Bringing in Stanton, he of the Titanic home runs capable of sailing out of pitcher-friendly AT&T Park, would qualify. The move would be akin to the Giants' free agent signing of reigning NL MVP Barry Bonds in December 1992, shortly after being sold to a new ownership group that kept the franchise from moving to Tampa. The club gained more than 1 million in attendance in 1993 and went from a 5th-place finish to winning 103 games. With veterans of multiple World Series titles like Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt all around age 30 and signed long-term, and Madison Bumgarner under team control for 2 more years, the Giants are convinced they don't need to rebuild as much as reload. Team president Larry Baer made that clear late last season, telling USA Today Sports, "Are we going to reduce the payroll by $75 million and start from scratch? Nobody thinks we need to do that. We think the culture and the personalities are intact for us to have very much a different kind of year next year." If Stanton is going to be part of that mix, the financial price will be steep. San Francisco has been hit with the luxury tax each of the last 3 years and already has $161 million in commitments for next season, when the tax threshold will be $197 million. Stanton's salary is scheduled to rise to $25 million in 2018. But the Giants no longer carry the $18-20 million debt service they were saddled with for 20 years, having paid off their ballpark's mortgage at the end of 2016. And they own 30% of their regional sports network, NBC Sports Bay Area, giving them extra incentive to keep their fans engaged. The club also expects to generate substantial revenue from a real estate venture just south of the ballpark that is scheduled to begin construction in 2018. In other words, the Giants have the means to pay Stanton's salary, the luxury tax and whatever extra expenses they need to incur. A new center fielder and third baseman come to mind, to enhance the roster. And while first baseman Shaw and right-hander Beede rank as San Francisco's number 2 and number 3 prospects, respectively, the club is covered at their positions. And Panik could eventually be replaced by number 1 prospect Christian Arroyo. So the Giants can afford to part with them and to absorb Stanton's cost, but what they can't afford is to continue falling behind the rival Dodgers. San Francisco fans have celebrated 3 championships this decade, so they're used to a competitive, entertaining product. Adding Stanton would go a long way toward re-establishing those qualities for the Giants.